Good. All right. So our second field stop is Craig Ballou here. I'll let him talk about this. Craig was our 2025 soil health. Yeah, he won a conservation award, whatever title we gave it that year. So, but like I said, I'll let him talk, and we can go from there.
I'd like to welcome you all to North Ottawa County. I guess a little history on this field. It's been in no-till since at least 2001. Um, the only tillage would be like we got a sprayer track here. I've had to disc it a little bit just to take out a few sprayer tracks, and I've got a problem with badgers on the they like to dig holes in the field. So yeah, megapores. It's kind of rough to go through with the equipment though. Um, when it's in Milo, it's probably going to get grazed in the wintertime. I've started strip grazing Milo stalks, so we get a little better usage out of them. Uh, I guess last year in the middle of August, I planted this to sedan with the idea that I'd pasture it in the wintertime, and I ended up not needing to do that. So it had sedan on it that got 6, 8 feet tall. It was heading by the time we finally got a freeze in late October. So it had a lot of cover on it. Uh, Feel free to walk out and take a look. The stand of corn isn't real good on this end of the field. Usually load the trucks on this end of the field, so I probably got a little compaction problem here. Corn gets a little better as I get out in there. Um, Planted the corn this year about the 14th of April. We've had pretty good rain this summer. Um, I guess that one of the things that impresses me about this as much as anything is what you don't see here is the amount of residue that's gone away. When I started no-tilling, we'd plant 2 years of milo and a year of soybeans, and then go back to wheat. And when I planted the wheat, that after even 3 years of row crop, I still had wheat straw in the field. We don't have that anymore. I've sped up the degradation of the residue. And if you'd been here this spring, I planted. It was one of the first. It was the first field I planted because we were dry, and I was afraid that if it got to raining, I might not get it planted. So I planted it first, and we've had pretty good rain this summer. Um, this corn's kind of catching up. It's kind of been behind some of the other corn, even though it was the first planted. The ears are starting to fill out and look pretty good now. Um, I'm sure the residue's held enough more moisture to kind of keep things going along. Um, I'm sure the residue on this has saved me a post app on herbicide. It just had Bicep and Callisto for herbicide on it, and didn't have to do any follow up with it. It's got a few weeds in it, but it's not too bad. I guess that's about all I have. If you got any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Since this is a soil health thing, have you cut back on your inputs because you've got better nutrient cycling on it? Have you seen any of that happening on this field?
No, and actually, I think with all this had so much sedan on it, I really think maybe I should have put a little more on because it got tied up in the. We probably tied a little bit up in the residue. I'm hoping to see that in the future or better yields.
That makes sense.
Anybody else?
North south, north south. What was the planting population on this on the corn?
About 17,000. Too much?
No.
When it was raining in June, I thought that wasn't near enough. And when July and August hit and we weren't getting any rains, I thought it was too much. So don't have a lot of tip back on the ears, so it makes you think maybe we need to up that a little bit. But when we get these dry spells in here, it makes it kind of hard to justify planting thicker.
Is this a flex full flex, semi flex, semi determinate?
Probably a semi-flex anyway.
This is dry land.
Yeah.
You might have already said it. How many pounds of nitrogen did you?
I did put 125 pounds in on.
So for the amount of residue that you had on,
Yeah.
it would have taken an amount of that nitrogen just to process for the microbes to process the 8 foot tall as tall as the corn sorghum Sudan that you had out here.
Yeah. On top of which it made, I don't remember exactly, between 50 and 60 bushel wheat last year. So we had a fair amount of wheat straw here too. So
Have you ever thought of following like those high carbon crops, like switch that to beans in the spring, or is that instead of corn, or is that something that you've done before? Or talk
I
about
haven't
that maybe.
I haven't ever done continuous corn, but I'm kind of thinking about it maybe. Normally I would go to soybeans in the next year.
But like following a high carbon cover crop, like your sorghum Sudan, do you feel like maybe you'd have been better off going to beans or instead of corn just
Oh,
because of the nutrient tie up, or not? Or nitrogen specifically?
I guess one of the considerations there would be we've been having good luck with having the ground dry and in condition to plant in April, and lots of times we'll get into rain in May and make it a little more difficult to get soybeans need to be planted a little later around here. Um, Soybeans would work good in, I think, if you get them planted. Just I like planting corn and soybeans or milo than soybeans. Anyone else?
So what is the biggest change you've seen out here then? I mean, you talked about the nutrients haven't changed on what you're doing there. Um, besides just having the extra residue, what has been the big change in this field over that 25 years?
Probably the ground's gotten a lot more mellow. Got a lot more earthworms. One of the first things I noticed when I started doing no-till was the earthworms came back. Be out checking ground and dig up a soil sample and find earthworms, lots of earthworms in it.
Have you increased your cropping rotation, like intensity, any then? Have you been able to? Do you feel like there's more moisture out there? I mean, what tangible thing that has really impacted your farming has come out of it?
Oh, definitely, we're saving moisture. The residues keeping allowing catching more moisture and reducing evaporation. Um, we were pretty dry here through the end of July and early August, and things uh, the no-till stuff's holding on a lot better than conventional till. This field of Milo across the road is conventional till, but it looks really good. I mean, it just hit the rains right, and so it's not showing any drought stress. So
Not like 2 years ago.
yeah.
Any other questions for Craig? Anybody from the crowd? No? You got anything else to add right now?
I don't think anything right off.
What are you doing, Candy?
Do you have some places where you did graze, like on other farms or something like that type of cover crop and have corn on it? So you have any comparisons or not? Or what are your observations you've seen?
Right down the road here, a mile east, I've got another field that was done the same way, and it's got corn on it,
And it was grazed.
and it was grazed.
Do you see any differences, or
I think it, even though it was planned a couple days later, it's probably a couple days ahead of this.
probably because of less residue? Or?
Yeah. So my thought was probably the ground warmed up a little quicker on it. This had so much cover on it that it should have stayed a lot cooler for a lot longer.
Which can be a good or a bad thing.
Yeah, yeah. Around here, you don't have to worry about it getting hot. Sooner or later, it's going to get hot, though.
How many day high relative maturity is this?
112, 13, somewhere around there.
Okay, so Terrell brought the bucket, and I'm sure quite a few of you have seen the bucket before. You got the new cup? No. Okay, so this is the slump test. Might just do it out on the road, Tyrell.
That's fine.
Then we don't have to muck up your bucket. It's a brand new bucket. So every soil and water conservation district office has access to one of these buckets. So you can go to these ladies, they're here, I see them, and ask them, and you can check it out, right? Is that how you guys are doing it? Check out system out, thinking that you have to give like your second child or anything in order to get it back. But these are kind of a nice little thing. Anymore, most everyone has a telephone. Your photos are geo-referenced. So there are UTM coordinates tied to your photos, and you can always go back to that. Just plug those UTM coordinates into Google Maps. It'll take you right back to where you were when you took that photo, so that you can go ahead and get a good, starting assessment, and then go back in 3-4 years or even 2 years and do it again. Take your pictures. There's instructions in the bucket for each of the tests. And the one we're doing is the very first one, called the wet aggregate stability, or I didn't name it that, but soil structure retention. I wrote these, but I don't remember putting that on there. Someone else did that. And we also call it the slump test. So if any of you've ever poured concrete, you know that when they pour it, they put it in a cone, and then they pull the cone off, and whatever goes, it's no good, right? Obviously, it's too much water in your mix. Here we look at the aggregation, and aggregation is what holds your soil together, what gives you structure, so that you don't end up like having issues at harvest. When you get a really wet harvest, you stay on top of the soil instead of spinning or digging into it, and then having to go back and go to the NRCS office and say, I gotta go out and disc my ruts, and instead of just disking in the ruts, the whole entire field is disked again instead. So you're always restarting. So if you can get the structure going, and his is going, compared to what we see here across the road, is quite a bit different. But it does give you that resiliency when you have these weather extremes from a dry standpoint, versus a wet. And then it also helps hold all your nutrients in place. So without the aggregation, you lose a lot of nutrients to runoff, volatilization. We get surface sealing. So then we get knocks occurring in the soils. When those soils are sealed over, they become anaerobic, and then our nutrients aren't cycling in there appropriately. They become anaerobic nitrogen, which is subject to gassing. And you got to get that biology back, that are the anaerobes, that uses and converts that into a form that's available to the plant. That type of stuff is not available to the plant. So I'm going to go over here to this hard pack. Grab a chunk of it. All you need is some of your surface soil. Comparison. You just come out of this field here. You see there's a little algae on the surface. So he's had some moisture, and people get a little worked up about algae, but they are nitrate loving animals, so they do make more nitrogen available in the soil, which is kind of interesting. There is a little platiness to this. How long have you been doing this? Oh, there you are.
Since at least 2001.
Okay, so he's been doing this for a little while. You do corn, beans predominantly, or do you do sorghum?
It's been more milo, soybeans, wheat.
Okay. So there's a little bit. I mean, even when you're just starting out, you'll get these very fine. You can see how friable they are. They're just falling apart. These little plates, and they take a while to go away. I mean, we never really get rid of all of our compaction that we have in our soils. It's very difficult to do unless you're continuous roots like you see at Wiltsie's, where he's feeding animals regularly, so he's got to have a food resource 365 days a year. So you got to keep that covered. But you just break it up into pea size or smaller. You don't want to grind it into these little pads, and then you just place it in the water. I hate these. I told Bryce I hate these. So your cups suck. And you put it in there till it gets pretty well saturated, drain it out, and then just flip it over. So then you can see some of that structure.
Yeah. Good
And
luck
so then this
breaking that up.
is pretty gummy.
Yeah.
When it's structureless and you're thinking, well, look at how much more moisture he has. But if we were to dig deeper, how much moisture would he have below this? Probably not a lot. So this is a soup.
When did it rain? When Saturday?
Yes.
Saturday.
Saturday morning.
And you could probably
You
with
can
it.
drive out.
But yeah, you could drive on yours. Good luck.
You're gonna spin out here. This is just goo.
Yeah.
Like Play-Doh. Maybe worse.
Yeah. Yep.
I can't even get it broken into pieces because it just wants to be a ball. I'll go to the bottom. Hate to do that. I've got big balls in here. What a mess. All right. Then you put it, fill it as full as yours was. Put it in the water. Now this, you don't want to compare to your neighbors, right? You want to compare your best soil to your probably where your problem spots are in the field. Comparing your neighbors, Jennifer always gets after us for comparing neighbors because your neighbors are doing the best they can, right, with what they have. Unbeknownst to them, they don't have, maybe all the knowledge that he has because he's been doing stuff differently, and they're working a little harder, not smarter, with that kind of conventional system. That's what I'll say about that. My forest skunk. See how I hate this? You want to give me that jug? I'll give it a little more. See, what you should do then is dump the water, and you can look then at the water quality too. Yeah, pour some in there. Get her even. All right. Now these might hold together, mainly just because this is shrink swell clay. I noticed out here in your field. So it has a lot of clay. I mean, when you are done and your hands are muddy, that's a sign you've got at least 30% or greater clay. And so clay does make aggregates quicker than silts do, or silt loams. So this is probably going to show, and the reason why it's going to show, it might be a little bit better, and it looks like aggregates, but it isn't, is because it's just balls. I made this into all these little balls and I packed them. So they're essentially little compacted balls of clay that are held together. You can see them. Each of those little balls that I pressed together, putting it in there, it made yours look worse, didn't it? I mean, you're like, why doesn't mine look like that? You don't want it to look like that. I mean, if you just feel this, you can feel a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Structure-wise, you can see.
Your hands don't get dirty handling.
No.
His.
Yeah. You can see it's breaking down. I can't even get this. All I get is that.
Yeah.
Trying to break that up. You get up. That's greater than 30% clay. The range cons always used to throw that against the side of the truck, and if it stuck, it was 35 to 50. So it's essentially just a mud ball. But that's how you go through and compare and contrast what you're doing. So your problem spots, obviously, are going to fall apart a little bit more. But if we pick this apart, there is some aggregates in there still. Compared to, you can see it's breaking.
Right.
It didn't turn into those muds. It turned into the little balls. Whereas if I pick this up, it's all those little pieces that the smear. You don't want the smear. So that's a sign that your soils aren't working as well as they should. And then when you look at his roots over here, get my grandma body up. You look at the rooting system, it was pretty dry back in there because his living roots are taking up the moisture. And below this, you're getting good root penetration. I mean, look at, that's 4 inches. I had to cut them off. it was dry below this. So whatever moisture you got went right up in your plant that you got the other day. This was pretty easy to dig out, but you can see the stress. These roots are going sideways. There's a few going, well, straight sideways, over and sideways. Nobody's reaching deep. They're all at an angle. So they're dependent upon what falls in this area to maintain this plant throughout the
crop rotation, all they're doing, then it still kind of goes back to where it was. So don't think that just because you do a perennial break for 5 years that it's going to fix your soil forever. So even with good management like what we see here, there's you still kind of you're still never going to get to like that perennial system like to what it was before, but you're going to be vastly better than not. So that's an improvement and that's a good thing. So
What are they doing for the plant, right?
well, up there they're cool season, diverse cool season mixtures is what they do.
he has western wheat and some of the stuff that you do for your what's that, cicer milk veg, clovers. Yeah, quite a bit of the cool season. Some even some warm season, so it's a mix
Primarily grazing.
all kinds of
Yeah,
stuff.
for grazing, and
For
they're
grazing.
predominantly all introduced species up
Yeah.
like what they're doing. Sign of and we'll talk a little bit about that for my presentation. But
and it's pretty prescriptive, like you said. It may
Yeah.
not just be for 5 years; it may be a 10-year break, depending upon what that soil needs for that time period. Not always easy to do unless you own the land, right? To just say,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm not gonna farm your ground this year. I want to pasture it, and I'm gonna put it back into grass." Not easy to do. To tell someone that you're gonna do that.
Scott. Yeah, if you want to pull one real quick. Yeah. We got a few minutes, Shannon?
Andy, you want to help me?
Okay.
As long as you squeeze it. I'll squeeze it. I'm not a good.
I will make one comment while they're working on this. So Craig talked about that he done the sorghum Sudan, had intended to graze it, didn't get it grazed, so it just became a cover crop.
Is this conventional corn?
I think that we really need to look at maybe in our area, because the springs have been way dry like they have been behind wheat, maybe not. Maybe don't look at rye in the fall. Look at doing a sorghum Sudan and grow you a bunch of biomass, whether it's for soybeans or a grass crop. You can still use your herbicide programs in the sorghum Sudan, control some weeds. You're going to lay down a big layer of residue to help fight the weeds, but you're going to have all winter to recharge that moisture. You're going to have the sorghum Sudan to catch the snow if we do get snow. I think it's kind of just one of those things that we haven't really thought about. It might be the way to go. Instead of doing rye as your first cover crop, do sorghum Sudan as your first cover crop.
The other thing about Sudan, over grazing milo stalks, you don't have the grain there. So I had intentions of strip grazing this, but then I see there's no grain in it, so I'm not so much worried about the cattle loading up on and losing our quality right off the start. So we have a more uniform feed to graze.
Right.
The longer the winter goes.
Right.
How many of you guys heard of bricks? You've seen Mr. or Dr. Dykstra. You've probably heard of bricks. There's other uses for it too, besides what Dykstra does, which is that plant sap pH, which is another way to determine what the pH is of your plant sap using the bricks. Will give you an idea then of how susceptible you are to insect predation. Not the good insect predation, the bad kind. Usually in conventional corn, you've probably heard Dykstra say that the readings are usually pretty low. So they're below 10 generally, in the 4 to 6 range a lot of the times. So you have issues when you have incomplete photosynthesis occurring with that low number, means you don't have a lot of high sugar up into the plant. So then that calls to the insects, essentially. So this is an old school one, which is analog. I do not have this one. I've got a digital. So what you do is you look through it, and when you look through it, you'll see a scale, and determining how much sugar is in there clouds this reader on here, and will tell you the percentage of the material have in there. We don't have a sun right now, so that's not helpful either. Yeah, I know. I hate those things.
Another leaf.
It's close. Hold it some more. And you got the garlic press does not work. If anybody's ever said just get a garlic press, that's the waste of your time and money. Maybe Pampered Chefs, because it's all steel, but you really need some vice grips with some of these little panels they put on there. With the dry leaf. We're getting close to dry down too.
Yep.
That's not helping us.
No, it'll work better on that sorghum.
It will. Let's just do the sorghum because it's newer. Still young and juicy. You probably don't want to do the mid-rib. It's a little harder to get anything out of, so just get you some green material. Some people do weeds. I've done weeds even, just to see, how much sugar is in the weeds. Because a lot of times you'll see some plants that have real heavy insect damage that are weeds, and some that are untouched, and you can see differences in the amount of sugar that those do as well. But yeah, the problem with the GMO corn and why it gets such a low Brix reading is because of a lot of the genetics that have gone into, especially GMO, using that shotgun approach, removing genes to put in specific genes for herbicide use, loses some of the good stuff. Drought tolerance is one of them for sure that they've lost a lot. Oh, look, you got a worm.
Yeah.
Is one that you usually see go in the toilet right away. So now they're trying to breed that back. Microbial association was another one of the genes that they've lost from the GMO versus the non-GMO corn, just because of that. And you can't have used a computer all your life and do this. I've found out. I don't have the hand strength for it. Here we go. If you can, yeah, that'd be handy. I think so. There we go. So when you flip over the little door, then you can see how it looks a little green, like Mountain Dew, about that color. And then the best result is, if you have sun, is to look into the sun. I don't think we got enough. Oh, we got just enough. So I would say, I can never see all those little lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like 6. You look, because your eye's more trained to your machine. So 6%, which is typical for GMO corn. That's usually what you find. Or no, the Milo. What is? We don't know that, do we?
Probably not enough research in the Milo.
No, we don't know what the Milo is. Is it?
What I say.
Yeah, I think it looks like 6. So, you can, if it gets lower, in Milo, you can have issues with, the head maggots on there feeding. If you can get it higher, it's a little more difficult.
So this would be a good example of VES. You got an earthworm, you got saprophytic fungi, right?
Yeah.
We got middens, and it's August. You can tell we've been wet because you normally,
dry.
normally you're not going to find an earthworm at almost the surface, and you're not going to find the saprophytic fungi because we're dry, and so yeah, moisture makes
My life good.
Yeah.
Moisture makes things work better.
Yes. Yep.
That's for sure.
Yep. So, because last year at No Till on the Plains they had Phil Mulvey, and he talked about the importance of the saprophytic fungi in building soils, and it's not just the mycorrhizal fungi we need to focus on. It is
the breakers,
the saprophytic that breaks down your residue. They farm your residue, and just focus on that. So we're gonna have to wrap this up so we get to our next stop. If you have any questions, everyone's on the bus. So yeah,